Upon looking at our last lecture, the factors involving solubility, I noticed that I glossed over the intermolecular forces. So I wanted to use this video to kind of describe how intermolecular forces have to do with solubility. Here we can see a test tube and it's full of hexane. Now, hexane is nonpolar. It's just C and H. We've added some copper sulfate, which has dipole-dipole bonds, to the hexane. It's dyed blue. And upon mixing, you'll notice that nothing happens. The copper sulfate wants nothing to do with the hexane. This illustrates the term like dissolves like. Polar molecules will only dissolve in polar solvents. Nonpolar molecules will only dissolve in nonpolar solvents. That's why this is not dissolving. Now, if we add some water, you'll notice that water is dissolving with the copper sulfate. Water has very strong dipole-dipole bonds. We've called it before the universal solvent, and it is hydrogen bonds. It is a very polar molecule, so it will dissolve eventually the copper sulfate. Right, what we see here is that polar molecules are going to be attracted to each other by either hydrogen bonding or dipole-dipole interactions. These intermolecular forces are made possible by a large difference in electronegativity. The difference in electronegativities of the two atoms bonded to each other. So again, we see the clear column of hexane, and below it, we see water, which has dissolved the copper sulfate. Here's another example. We have iodine, right? Iodine is a diatomic molecule. Therefore, it has London dispersion forces. Nonpolar molecules are attracted to each other via London dispersion forces. They either don't have a dipole, as in this case, right? We have the same atom twice, so there's no dipole. Or they have multiple dipoles which cancel each other out due to their geometry. For example, CH4. CH4 is nonpolar because it has a tetrahedral shape. Another example would be CO2. This one has a linear shape. And it is also nonpolar. We've added some water to the iodine. Remember that water has dipole-dipole. And we're going to mix it up. We're also adding some dye. And we're going to add some hexane. So you can see the water wants nothing to do with the hexane, and it has bonded and dissolved with the iodine. Both of these molecules are nonpolar, right? They both have London dispersion forces, therefore they will dissolve with each other.